Good morning, 8:37. Sean here. It is your Mayor Report with Mayor Gary Sauls. Good morning, Gary. How are you?
Good morning, Sean. How are you?
I'm excellent, Gary. So I don't have questions for you today. However, I thought we could probably talk a little bit about last week, recap, and just touch base on a few things. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay, couple of things. First, I wanted to, when we were doing the interview last week, had mentioned that the tax situation had kind of slid under the radar media-wise. And Aaron pointed out that he did do a story on it in the Mountaineer back in the summer. And I don't know how I missed it. I said to him, because I usually am on there all the time, and it just went right by me. It's called The City Budget Takes Hit After Successful Revelstoke Mountain Resort Tax Assessment. It was on June 27th. And the photo of it is actually a group of people on a mountain on bikes and stuff, and I may have seen that photo, and the photo may not have caught my attention because it's not something I'm interested in, so I may have just missed that completely. But the article's really good, and Aaron breaks it down into brass tacks as to what happened, how, and why. So if you already know it, then you know it. But if you want to recap, or if you just want to do what I did and catch up to it, he did a good expose on it.
Good. Well, I'm glad he brought that up.
Yeah.
That it wasn't missed.
So with that said, you can recap that up on the Mountaineer just to fill yourself in. How's the week been? It's been an interesting
week. It's been a rough week for some of council. It's been lots of people have given all kinds of comments, positive and negative, in social media. I've had all kinds of positive comments of people in the community happy that we've brought this forward. Regarding the raises and some of the issues that we're dealing with at City Hall, and going like, why is this such a big kerfuffle? So I'm happy about those who've come forward and expressed their concerns, expressed their support, that sort of thing. But what I'm not happy about is what's been happening with those who've done personal attacks. Councillor Juncker has been attacked physically in his store. He's had people come in yelling and screaming. I've seen incidents which I suspect are people looking to give me the gears, that sort of thing. So if they want to come at me, have at her. I'm still going to stand behind what I've said. And we talked about those wages. One of the biggest concerns I have is what's being touted in social media and in the community is this big percentage, and they don't equate what that dollar value is. And so the dollar value works out to, if council were to put these final wages for remuneration for council forward to be $5.50 per average house per year. End of story. But when I look at all the controversy and the chaos that's come along with that, what's come now is personal tax. And I look at the councillors and I'm going like, okay, they're not needing to wear personal attacks. This is about an issue. Let's deal with the issue. If you want to talk to us about the issue, we want to hear that. But there's no reason that a councillor needs to feel unsafe in the community, or even myself or my family.
Now, I know that you don't dive into the social media aspect of it. Some councillors do, some don't. And even some of the community members do. And some of us read them and don't comment on it, or whatever the case is. And some comments are fine. Some have decent points and whatever. Sometimes I read them and I think, if outside communities saw how we have a tendency to be at from times, that can't project well to us, because I don't think that's representative of who we are as a community and how we actually feel overall. Like, yeah, we might be passionate about stuff and we get worked up about stuff, but I don't know, sometimes it seems pretty rough.
And I agree. I mean, if someone was outside the community, wanted to come here and visit and saw some of the comments on some of the community pages, you would wonder, do I even want to be around that? And so those are all concerning things. We have bigger issues. We need to deal with the housing and planning and getting our neighborhoods in shape and dealing with our infrastructure, those sorts of things. And so when I look at this, it seems to be pretty small on the scale of importance, but it sure has created a furor all over social media and in the regular media or the standard media across this province.
Yeah, we certainly have we seem to make waves whenever we do hit media, from this to rewinding back in time all the way to SCO Hall, how we paint things on the road also made national media. So, when Larry, the cable guy, shares a picture of SCO Hall, and I'm not joking you, he did.
Yeah.
I thought, oh man, Larry, the cable guy's making fun of us. Oh boy, here we go.
I wonder how many millions he made off of it.
Yeah.
Right?
So I just thought we would bring that up because I can't imagine that it's fun. It's not enticing, I'll tell you that much. It doesn't feel like it would be a fun position to be in, to be on council. It really doesn't. It's almost like it's like target pay, Gary, because you've got lawn darts coming at you all the time, whether it's you, Mark, David, or whoever's mayor before. And I'm assuming that the previous mayors back in your day when you were just working,
right,
I'm sure they made choices, or that council, I should say, that you weren't a fan of, but I think I'm all for the town to give you the gears if they feel that they need to, but I think there's the right way to do it, in a respectful way, and I'm sure you'll take the heat if it's done in a respectful way.
Well, and I look at it and say, okay, I've heard both sides of the story now. We're going to make a decision based on both sides of the story. We are going to go through our budget process, and part of that process is going out after we do our tax division as to where we're going to put everything. That will go out to the community. They'll have a couple of weeks to weigh in and give some input, and we'll be able to go from there.
And that was my next question, was it seems as if there's some confusion as to this is actually happening as where it's on the table. It's always open for discussion at budget meetings, but I've been to one, and I think there's like the same three people every year there.
Yep.
When you can go and say no or and bring up suggestions and points, and I don't know, maybe if it was 20,000 instead of 25,000 and it was 40,000 instead of 60 or whatever the number is, maybe it would have been met with some grumbles and mumbles, but maybe not the way that it's been so explosive. I don't know.
Yeah, and we'll never know exactly the way it is. And so when I look at that and go, okay, these are proposed. Yep, some of this stuff is embedded, the things that we've passed, but it still has to go out to the community, and we get them to weigh in, and then we come back and say, okay, is there somewhere where we need to trim and meet things? So, that's where we're at. I think as we move forward, the thing the community needs to understand is we're doing the best that we can for you under the circumstances we're at. I've sat on a poverty reduction group. They say that a normal wage or a wage to make a living in this community is $19 an hour. We're talking less than that for the council, and yet there's blowback. So we understand that. We understand the concerns, and we'll move forward. We're hearing what you're saying. But the one thing I'm going to say, and this little note was passed to me this week, and I've actually learned this week. Apparently, when you treat people the same way they treat you, they get offended. And sometimes I've seen that this week where I've pushed back on people, and they're going like, "How dare you?" And I look at it and say, "Okay, we're all human. We're trying to do the best that we can." And but when I see the chaos and whatnot that's been perpetrated through the community over this sort of issue, I'm going like, maybe we should have communicated better and more efficiently right off the hop. And now we're doing catch up. So to the community, I apologize that we haven't communicated that out right off the bat. Then maybe we wouldn't be in this situation.
Huh? Lessons learned, right?
Correct.
There's going to be another council and another mayor one day too, and they can learn from this one.
Absolutely.
I won't be running because I don't like lawn darts on my forehead. No, we've got some issues with, not issues, but the sand pit, the gravel pit down by the Jordan River was a bit of a concern, and they had an open house, I understand.
Yeah, and I wasn't able to be at that open house.
From what I gathered, that Jake and Jay were more than willing to hear everyone and what they had to say and address those concerns, and then take it back to their drawing board and figure out what's best for everybody involved, which is the whole point of these things.
Correct.
It doesn't have to be so controversial. It could just be, this is what we want to do. What are your concerns? And then you go back and try to work something out that works out for everybody. And hopefully that's the case.
And that's what I'm hoping to.
Yeah. Well, good for them. Is there anything else that is positive that's coming out? Because I think I do think there's a lot of people that say nothing but that look for the good, and so there's got to be something good that's coming out of it. And
yeah, I think the positive comments from the community and saying we appreciate what council's been doing and the things that they've been able to accomplish, and so we're grateful for that. We feel that we're on track to move the community forward and still retain what we are as far as a community. And that's basically what community members had said to me when we were running for election. Remember where we came from, and so I think we're moving that way. This week, so consistency. This week we have the students from Monocho. They arrived yesterday. They're here for a week. They've been coming for 20 years. And that speaks volumes about the community, that we've been accepting them, and our students are going back in April. So I'm just, I'm grateful for those sorts of things, because it basically says, as a community, we are good people. We are working forward, and we're accepting of everything that can be positive. So.
Well, that's good. See, something positive is nice. I also wanted to point out, I saw briefly that it looks like that they saw an image of a Sasquatch by a tree. Now, it turns out it was Washington, and I was very disappointed that it wasn't here. But I'd like to know your theories on this, Gary.
Well, I read a news clip this morning saying it can't be because the Sasquatch lives in BC.
See, that's my
end of
theory
story.
Too. Good. Okay, well, thanks, Gary, for coming in and just kind of doing a recap of what took place last week and what we can do moving forward. And the budget is still open for discussion when that time comes, right? Nothing's been stamped. Yeah, we're down the line, but
yep.
You could hard argue it backwards if you really, really wanted to. I think. I could be wrong.
Okay, good.
Okay. Thanks, Gary.
Thanks. Take care.